Hello, fellow duelists. This is Shadow of the Moon, and what do you know? Welcome to an updated deck profile of my Harpie Lady deck for August of 2024. I did not think that I was going to be updating this deck, but I kind of went back, I looked at it, I fiddled with the formula a little bit, and I feel like as of right now, because Harpie Ladies is not competitive at all, this is probably one of the most competitive builds for a Harpie deck that is more of a pure Harpie deck, because I'm a purist. I love using pure decks that were meant to be a certain way, decks that were meant to be played certainly, and it's just something that I've always enjoyed. So I feel like this deck is pretty competitive for the most part. Now cards in here, the hand traps, just to give you a heads up, I'm still waiting on the rest of the hand traps, but I thought I'd go ahead and make this video. Obviously, the ones that I have in there are just placements. I will tell you that you can put in instead, but those are in there just to, as kind of like a placement until I get them. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get on straight into the deck profile. So Harpie Ladies have not had support since Harpie Ladies Pet Dragon, Fearsome Fire Blast. So it has went through some changes in terms of the strategy, the build, and everything. So first off, we're going to start out with 3 Harpies Chandler. This is the bread and butter of this deck. When this card is normal summoned, you activate the effect. You can discard a card that says Harpie in the name to special summon a Harpie monster from the deck. And if it's a level 7, this card can make itself level 7 going into the rank 7 plays. So obviously if you have this, you discard a Harpie card to special summon Fearsome Fire Blast, and then this card becomes a level 7 as well, meaning you can go into the Mecha Phantom Beast, Draco Sack, or you can go into Arsenal Falcon or Big Eye or whatever you want to, and it works really well with the deck. This is a very, very, very good card and probably one of the best cards in this deck. And then you have Harpie Perfumer. Harpie Perfumer is a great card as well, because when this card is normal special summoned, you can actually add a Elegant Egotist or a card that mentions Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters from your deck to your hand. So this card is really good because you can add an Elegant Egotist, and then if you control a level 5 or higher Harpie monster, you can add a second card from your deck to your hand. So say you have Elegant Egotist, but you already have Cyber Slash or Fearsome Fire Blast, you play this card, and you can actually add a second Harpie card, so you would add Harpie's Eternal Rest, so you'd be able to get those extra cards. And then we are running the original lady herself, Harpie Lady, the vanilla monster. I feel like this is the best. If you wanted to play Cyber Harpie, you can play that, but I feel like this is the best because I am playing the Unexpected Die in the deck to make it a little bit faster. So essentially, if you have Unexpected Die, you play that and you can special summon this from the deck, and you already have a Harpie Lady on the field to kind of swarm to go into plays. Then you've got 3 copies of the Fearsome Fire Blast. If you control a Harpie monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, other than using it as exceed material, you can send from your graveyard to send a Harpie monster. So you would essentially want to send Harpie Harpist, because Harpie Harpist's effect would allow you to add a Harpie monster, basically with a 1400 or whatever attack or level 4 from your deck to your hand. So it would help you out a lot in the deck. Alright, and here's going to be the odd numbers. So first off, we're going to stay 2 copies of Harpie Harpist. Harpie Harpist is great because when this card is sent to the graveyard at the end phase of the turn, you can add a Winged Beast Harpie monster basically from your deck to your hand. So it allows you to have that continuous flow of cards, as well as synergy, and well as the consistency of it. You have 1 Harpie Queen. This is in here to discard for a Harpie's Hunting Ground, which is a very pivotal card in this deck. And then you have 1 Harpie Oracle, because you only need 1 in the deck, because if you control a level 5 or Harpie monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. It is a Harpie monster. So that's going to be it for the monsters. As you can see, there's only 16. You only need to play 16 in this deck because everything in this deck searches for one another. So the consistency in that factor is way off the charts. You have enough cards that you can constantly always have a Harpie monster on the field. And then for the spells and traps, we've got 3 of your Elegant Egotist. This is the most standard card. Special summon a Harpie Lady or Harpie Lady Sisters from your hand or deck. And then you have 3 Hysteric Signs. So Hysteric Sign, when this card is activated, you can add an Elegant Egotist from your deck to your hand. Also, if you do not want to activate that effect, because you can only activate one of those effects per turn, or you can have this card set, play Harpie's Hunting Grounds, special summon a Harpielady, or play Harpie, Conductor, and then if a card would get destroyed by battle or something, you can play Harpie Conductor's effect, which will destroy a card. So your object, obviously, is to play, like, Harpie's Hunting Ground, and set this face down, pop it, and then at the end phase of the turn, you can get Harpie's Featherstorm, which is, like, a very pivotal card in this deck. You have one copy of Harpie's Hunting Ground, one copy of Harpie's Feather Rest, one copy of Harpie's Feather Duster. These are all the one-ofs in the deck. Shout out, this is from the Stairway to the Destined Duel, which I still have that game. And then instead of Small World, since this card came out, I started using this and noticed that the level that it took my Harpies was so much better than with Small World. Small World, you have to neg 1 because you have to banish a card and you have to search for a card. So you have to discard a card, banish a card from your deck, and then add a card from your deck to your hand. This card, you can either tribute a card in the hand or on the field to add a card from your deck to your hand. So it can actually play around a lot of hand traps and can also allow you to get a Harpie Chandler, which was the start of your combo, or a Harpie Perfumer, or whatever have you. So these guys are actually really, really good. I just wish they were upgraded rare, but... And then you have 2 of the Unexpected Die. So Unexpected Die works really well because you're going to be using that for the normal Harpielady to kind of get your monsters on the board. And that's it for the spells. Let's move on to the traps. So obviously, 3 Harpies Featherstorm. This card locks your opponent out from activating effects, and if you control a Wind-Winged Beast type monster, you can activate this card from your hand. If you control, I think it's either that or if you control a Harpie monster, you can activate this card from your hand. So you do it on your opponent's turn or your turn, and at the start of their turn, you drop this card. They can't respond to it. They cannot activate monster effects for the remainder of the turn. So it is a really good hand trap, and it's very fitting because this actually works with the deck quite well. So if I'm messing up at all, I apologize. I am tired, and I'm just going through this deck because I did have it updated finally. And then finally, we have the Hysteric Party, Hysteric Party. Hysteric Party, discard a card to special summon as many Harpielady cards from your graveyard as possible. So this is kind of a good little trap. And then for the hand traps, we are playing, and now, like I said, you can play Ash and you can play Imperm or whatever hand traps you want. These cards are just placeholders until I can get those. So just 3 Effect Veilers and 3 Ghost Ogres. So like I said, these are not permanent. These are just the hand traps that I have in the deck right now. But if you feel like you want to play Ash and Imperm, I would recommend that. So that's it for the main deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. So 2 copies of Cyber Slash. You need 2 copies of Cyber Slash. This card is really good because if your opponent activates a monster effect, spell, or trap, you can quick effect bounce either this card back or bounce back a card they control to their hand. You can only activate that once per turn. This is a good kind of interruption and one of the best cards in the deck. And then you have Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. This card cannot be targeted for attacks or effects, and this target your opponent cannot target Harpie monsters with effects or attacks as well. Also, this card can attack your opponent life points directly, and then at the end of the turn, you have to detach a material for it, which it requires 3 Harpie level 4 monsters, wind monsters. But good thing about this is, if it's going second, you manage to get through an attack with 2k, you can pop Zeus over it, and Zeus has 2 board wipes. So how cool is that? Harpie Conductor's in here because it's easy to make and can also pop cards on your field to prevent your monsters from being destroyed by battle or by card effects. And then, like I said before, you have Zeus. This card is a really good tech card in this deck. You've got Phantom Mecha Beast. You have Mecha Phantom Beast, Draco Sack. This allows you to create the 2 tokens that you can then, in turn, use to special summon your Harpie Conductor. And then you have Arsenal Falcon in the deck. So this is a really cool tech card because if you special summon a Harpie Perfumer, you can activate Harpie Perfumer's effect using this card. So you just require 2 level 7s. If you wanted to play Red Eyes for a metal, for gimmick purposes, you wanted to play Big Eye, you can play those as well. I like playing Arsenal Falcon just because it's fun. And yeah, I mean, it does work. It comes up in situations that I need like a level 7 and I need to be able to get, extend a little bit higher. And then you've got Utopia the Lightning and Utopia. So Utopia the Lightning, you're going to lay this over Utopia, and then this acts as kind of like a double or nothing. So when your opponent's monster attacks, you can actually detach a material to your opponent can activate spells and traps or whatever to you know, in response to it, and then you can double its attack, making it 5,000, so you can swing for 5k. Works pretty well, and it's actually a nice little tech card to add with this deck. And then we have Castel, the Sky Blasting Musketeer. This is mainly in here because it's a winged beast type monster, meaning that if you have this on the field, you can activate Harpie's Featherstorm. You have Ice Beast Xerophine. This is kind of a good as like a field negate, where you can negate every monster's face-up effect and then increase its attack. You have Abyss Dweller, which is really good because Abyss Dweller will allow you to kind of shut down your opponent's graveyard to where they can't activate effects. And then you're going to be playing IP Masquerena instead of SP Little Knight, because SP Little Knight is hella expensive. This is a lot more cheap of a cheap option. You're going to be playing Crusadia, and you're going to be playing Unicorn. So these are going to be your 2 targets. On your opponent's turn, you're going to activate her effect, and you're going to blink summon either Unicorn or Crusadia Max. Alright, so that's going to be it for this deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it. This deck is a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. This deck is not competitive at all. This deck is not a tier deck, a rogue deck, or anything. This is just a very fun deck because Harpieladies haven't been viable really since 2014 when they released Harpie Chandler and like the second wave of Harpie cards for the support for the deck. And it's a lot of fun, but you are not going to be winning locals unless you like make some crazy adjustments to it. One of the people that I really like seeing makes pure Harpie decks is actually Harpie Player Joe, or whatever. Harpie, yeah, I think it's like Harpie Player Joe. He's a really good person in terms of like finding out deck ideas because he's been playing Harpie decks for a very long time. And I also go to other channels and kind of look at their decks and see how they play and look at the combos and be like, hey, something I never even knew that you could do. So with that being said, I feel like this is probably one of the best Harpie builds that you can have. That's a pure Harpie build. But this deck is not going to be winning you tournaments. This is more of a fun deck. This is a pet deck that I love. And something I've always been playing, because I've always played with Harpies. Ever since this game has started, I always played with Harpieladies. And then from there, they would add more support and everything, which is this is why it was one of my favorite decks. Because no matter how outdated it gets, it's something that I'm always still going to enjoy. And I always tend to like pure decks, so I like using the pure side of it. But yeah, alright, so I hope you guys enjoy that. Thank you so much for watching, and with that, I'll see you guys next time. Later.